And I am Ty.
And we are from hisandhermoney.com, where we're helping you to get better money, become a better couple,
And live a better life.
better life, man. We are excited today because we have a very special return guest to the show. She is a big part of the His and Her Money family. Every time she comes on, y'all beat up our inbox talking about how much y'all love and appreciate the value, the quality of information that is provided. And today's going to be no different.
No different. So when you come in, make sure you hit that share button. The last time we had her on, you guys shared. So continue to share. She's going to be dropping some gems again.
We're talking generational wealth with this
good.
particular episode. So listen, man, if you care about the people in your life, whether that's people that you're related to by blood or just friends, people that you have a genuine care for, they need to hear the message that is about to go forth on this episode. So do yourself and do them a favor and hit that share button. Right? Don't wait. Because you know, as soon as we give
her the mic,
the green light.
That's right.
It's on.
So if you are watching the replay, still come in and still share. Hit that share button. We're going to just give her the floor. I saw someone made a comment on one of our last conversations with her. Wow, Ty and Tally didn't even really get to ask any questions. Well, we don't really want to ask questions. We just want to give her the floor, and we want her to teach you guys. So come in, share. Hello. We see you guys coming in.
Shout out to everybody in the comments. We love that you're live and that you're here. While you're at it, get some pen and paper because you know the value is coming, the insight is coming, and you know our guest, Dr. Lynn Richardson, is all about action. So don't come on here just for entertainment purposes. Right. This is for education and for execution. So get your mind right, because we have none other than Dr. Lynn Richardson back on the His and Her Money Show. Hey, Dr. Lynn, welcome back to the show.
Oh my goodness, I'm nervous.
Stop it.
Yeah, right. No, you got the goods. So we're super excited.
Y'all got me nervous. Yeah, trying to come on and do the same thing again and
again. Yes. We're so excited to hear what you have to share again with everyone.
Yes. So, I mean, for some, now you've been here twice and you have laid down the law. You've given people inspiration.
Yes.
And you've given people like things that they didn't know existed. You've given them information that they then turn around and built something with. But for some, this is the first time that they're being introduced to you. So could you just take a moment for those that are being introduced to you for the very first time right here, right now, say hello to them and let them know what you're all about.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity once again, just to share. I am really just a regular, everyday, ordinary person. I say that with as much grit in me as I can. I was telling my family members about maybe a few days ago, and there was something going on in the media. And, there have been lots of things that have been happening that have kind of sparked us emotionally. And, I was born and raised in Chicago, and I knew in that moment, I said, you can take the girl out the projects, but you can't take the project out the girl. Can't take it out. Project is still in the girl. The project is alive and well, but I was born and raised in Chicago. As a matter of fact, my grandmother was 75 years old, cleaning homes for wealthy people, putting me through college. If she had to go and get on a bus at 3:00 in the morning when it was 70 below zero and the snow was up to here, she was only like 4'10". She did what she had to do, and she taught me all the things that grandmamas teach their children. I grew up in the projects, so I knew we weren't rich, but I never felt poor. If I needed money for something, I'd say, Grandma, I need money for, a field trip. She'd tell me to go look in the room, on top of the shelf, behind the box, inside my pocketbook, inside the zipper, wrapped up in the piece of paper towel. It's $20. I went through that so many times. I got my butt whipped. That's definitely, old school Big Mama. And it's so funny to me today because people say, well, what about time out? I said, no, how about I take time out to whoop your butt like I got mine whooped? So Grandma B, everybody loved Grandma B. She passed last year, but she really is the root and the heart and soul, I think, of, who I am and why I work so hard. She had an 8th grade education, but she's the wisest woman I know. Fast forward, I went on to college. As I shared, I didn't know anything about money. She taught me to go to school, get a good education, get a good job, go to church on Sunday, wear clean underwear in case you get hit by a bus, all those things. But I didn't know about money. So when I got off to college, I realize now, looking back, that I was suffering from what I think a lot of people suffer from. I grew up intelligent. I got good grades. I was one of the smart kids in school. I got straight A's, went to one of the world's, greatest academic institutions. But the truth is, when you become an adult at quote unquote 18, quote unquote, you're supposed to be an adult. The only thing that you've been defined by up until that point is either your skill, if you played football, if you were good at some kind of athletic sport, or if you were good in school. There's really nothing else that defines you. So I was defined by this academic intelligence. Well, let me tell you, I proved that to be wrong, because the first week of school, I went into a room. They had credit card people all over the room, and it did not dawn on me to think that I should exercise self-control. Because here, in my mind, I was smart, I was successful, I was accomplished. The only thing anybody ever told me is that I was smart. So when anybody tells you all the time your whole life that you're smart, you think that everything you do is smart. Well, let me tell you how dumb I was. I got too many credit cards, couldn't pay anybody. When the creditors will call and say, Lynn, can you borrow the money? I'd say, can I borrow it from you? And I found myself in a bad situation, but it still did not hit me. Fast forward, I get out of college. My credit is jacked up. I got my first furniture from Rent-A-Center. I remember this little white car. I don't even know what Toyota's out back then. I don't remember what it was, but the thing almost fell apart on the way from the lot getting it. It was worse than a lemon. It was a raisin. It was shriveled up dead, okay? It was worse than a lemon. And I fast forward and I become successful. I get married. And I'm making money. I helped a lady with 4 bankruptcies and 2 foreclosures overcome her credit issues. She got into a house with a 3% interest rate, $1,400 down. And I became very successful, started making a lot of money, but I learned really fast that more money doesn't solve a money problem. If it did, millionaires wouldn't go bankrupt, because here I was making $20,000, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 a month, not a year, a month. And I was always broke. So when I wrote my first book, Living Check to Monday, you see, because that's what it was. And I'll never forget typing the words, because I was so down and out. I was so destitute. I was so sick and tired of myself. You ever been sick and tired of yourself? Let me tell you something. When you get sick and tired of yourself, now everybody else is sick and tired of you, but you don't know anything is wrong. But when you get sick and tired of yourself, let me give you a clue that you're sick and tired of yourself. You don't want to wake up. You're depressed. You're irritated. And so I was so sick and tired of myself that I decided to write a book, and I started typing living check to check, and instantly I knew that that was not my situation. You see, check to check is a blessing. That means you get paid on Friday, and by the next payday you broke. But check to Monday is a whole entirely different game. You get paid on Friday, you kick it on the weekend, you pay on your past due bills, because in your mind, your current bills are not due yet. And if a creditor calls you about a current bill, you looking at the creditor like they owe you money, just out of order, out of control, and everything is just upside down. And so I wrote the book, Living Check to Monday, and that's when I realized I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one. Northwestern educated, degree in finance, economics, math. I had all the degrees that should point to financial freedom. All of them. But what other degree can you get? Finance, economics, and math major? Come on now. And yet I was still broke. But I realize now that I think that I'm the only one who could have had that experience and then been able to share that experience with others in a way that would help them transform. And I'll never forget how I got to this point where we are today is after several years of trying to fix everything that I had broken. I remember filing bankruptcy, Chapter 13, and I paid that off. And then a couple of years later, I had to file a Chapter 7 with this recession of 2008. And then I'm trying to fix things and put them back together. And I was asked to come and speak at an event. It was a diverse women's event. It was all the diverse women in executive positions around the country. There were maybe 400 or 500 women in that room. And the average salary in the room was about $400,000. I remember because we did a survey, and I was asked to be the quote unquote, the Susie Orman. You know, I was supposed to come and speak to women who were making that kind of money. about generational wealth and planning and investing and so on and so forth. And when I got in that room, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the speech they asked me to do. I started talking about living check to Monday. I started talking about making 6 figures, but you feel like you only made 1. I started talking about making all that money and spending more money than you make. I started talking about making all of that money and having a house in foreclosure, a marriage on the rocks. And although my marriage has never been on the rocks, thank God we survived. But, going through everything, my husband and I'm very thankful for him. But unfortunately, many marriages do break up over finances. And so I started talking about that. And the first lady, she was that put her hands up. She was manicured, pedicured, and tailored to the T. Everything was matching, designer suit, purse to match, all of that stuff. And her hands went up and she started crying, and the whole entire room just wept, everybody. And I was only supposed to speak for one group that day. We were at Trump Towers in Chicago, and I left when they were supposed to go shopping on the Magnificent Mile. And as I was leaving the building, as I was leaving Trump Tower in Chicago, I saw women, and I had my little roll bag. I saw women coming from every direction, from the right, the left, and behind me. And they all swarmed and said, "We heard what you just did. Can you talk to us?" And I went and I talked to those women. That was 2008. I will never forget it. It was life-changing for them, and it was life-changing for me. And from that day forth, that's when I started speaking to the people who look like we got it together, but we really don't. The ones who don't look like we have it together, and we don't. And the ones who have it together and want to get it together at another level. And so that's how we got here.
Wow. There's so much of your story. Oh, we got a little feedback.
Hold on. Technical difficulties a little bit.
Mic check. Hey, audience, do you hear the feedback when I speak? Mic check. Where did that come from?
Can you hear that, Dr. Lynn? Do you hear the feedback?
I don't hear any feedback, but you do kind of go in and out just a little bit.
Okay.
They're saying yes.
Okay, so y'all do hear the feedback.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Okay.
Let's see. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Okay, it went away. All right, 3 2 1. So, Dr. Lynn, so much of your story is completely identifiable. People are probably saying, "Yep, me too.
Me too.
Yep, me too. Yep, me." I did
a lot
that.
of people are saying, "I'm sick of myself. I'm sick of myself. I'm sick of myself."
And we're here to talk about generational wealth, right? But that can be so intimidating of a concept if you're at that breaking point. If you're at that point, as you mentioned, as Ty just said, a lot of people are identifying with the statement that you said with, you have to become sick of yourself. And so a lot of people are there. They're sick of what they've done. They're sick of the situation that they're in.
I want to ask a little question before you jump in. Sick of yourself. Dr. Lynn, was it at that point when you got sick of yourself that change started?
Oh my goodness. It was, when you are at the bottom, that's a great place to be because you have nowhere to go but up. Absolutely nowhere to go but up. If you do one thing, if you accept why you're there. And life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond. And so after I got through blaming everybody else, because we can blame everybody else. We can blame, my problem was I didn't have a spending addiction. I did not have a drug problem. I didn't have a gambling problem. As a matter of fact, I hate shopping. It's too much work. I don't like putting things together. I'd rather just see the outfit on the rack. Yes, that's the one. Can I have 8 of them? Yeah, the same color. Same color. Because I don't want to have to think about what I have to wear. So I didn't have any of those problems. I had a problem that was worse than that. I had a I think I'm God problem. That's the worst problem. Because I thought I could save everybody. I thought I could give people money or get them out of a situation or buy this person a house or help this person with their rent or help this person. I would loan money to people even when I was broke. So they wouldn't think I was broke, but I was broke. So now you're living a lie. So you can't keep up with lies. And the truth is, math, money is so really dependable. Really, it's dependable. And when we are in an inverse relationship with money, it's because we are not dependable. Because money says, I am guaranteed to add up every single time. Because 1 + 1 = 2. And if your stuff adds up to 10, I'm not going to work for you. If you got 10 things or 10 things you got to pay for, and I can only pay for 2, you're going to be frustrated. So money says, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait for you to figure out that I am the truth. I am the truth. I am consistent. I'm more consistent than people, because people can show up, they can leave. I'm more consistent than the weather. It could rain, snow, or we could, I'm more consistent. Money says I am consistent. And if you honor my consistency, then I will obey you. And not only will I obey you, then I will work harder for you than you can ever work for me. So I really got to the place that, yes, I was so sick of myself that I said, you know what, Lynn, you can change this. And I had to face some really tough truths. I had to face the fact that I just was reckless. How many of us go and get a raise? How many of us go get a raise and then you raise your expenses? You get a $10,000 raise, you buy a $20,000 car. You get a $50,000 raise, you're going to buy a $300,000 house. Don't get a $100,000 raise. You're going to start buying stuff. And it doesn't add up. And so what happens is we begin to try to meet up to the expectations of others. That really, it's an internal desire to go and meet the external expectations that other people have. And the truth is, I realized that if I met my own expectations, and that started with being truthful with myself, with how much money I had. If I didn't have it, I couldn't spend it. If I didn't have it and couldn't spend it, that meant when my sorority sister called, or the Jack and Jill Club people called, or when somebody else called and said, Lynn, can you do this? I had to say no. And I couldn't come up with excuses. I had to say no because I can't afford it, or no because it's not in my budget. And the more I began to simply tell the truth, that's why the truth is so important. I talk about Ephesians 6:20 a lot. And in that scripture, Paul was basically saying to the people in the city of Ephesus that your battle is not against the government. You see, Ephesus was a world center. It's like it sits at the port of the Aegean Sea. It's like where modern day Turkey is. And people came from everywhere to Ephesus to worship the goddess Artemis. And as Christianity began to rise in Ephesus, then the worship of Artemis began to decline, so that the economy began to decline. So the government began to come after these Christians, and Paul said to them, your battle is not against flesh and blood. Your battle is against principalities and spiritualities in high places. And so what I understood is that my battle was not against my paycheck. I'd already figured out how to make a lot of money. My battle was not against my degree. My battle was not against my circumstances. My battle was against me. And a lot of people talk about the enemy, but I realized it was the inner me. So if we all look at our inner me, what is my inner me doing? And if we're honest with ourselves, our inner me is trying to live up to the expectations of others. Our inner me is guilty about something we didn't do, so now we're trying to make up for it. Our inner me is simply not paying attention to the facts. And so I had nowhere else to go. And that's why I continue to talk. I continue to say this message. I continue to let people know, if you are just willing to face your inner me, you can do anything. As a matter of fact, if you're willing to face your enemy, you have no idea what you can do. You don't even have a clue. Yeah. You have no idea what you are capable of. Now, I have to share something. I have been on both sides. I've been on the side where I'm afraid to fail and I'm afraid to succeed. Both of them. Because once you see the power that God can actually put in you to go and fulfill goodwill on this earth, it's like, oh my God. Then your humility is like, well, what if I fail? What if I don't live up? It all starts with the inner you. And I simply believe that every person who is breathing, everybody has something in them that if they allow it to come out, if you allow it to come out, the 21 days to financial freedom, let me tell you, all of my business colleagues, and I've got people who have worked on for every level on the planet, meaning they work for icons and global folks. I've got some really great people on my team in the background in marketing. Nobody understands why I still do 21 Days to Financial Freedom for free. All they got to do is buy the book. Nobody understands it. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I do the Freedom Package. Because every single day, I'm encountering people who are afraid to be financially free because they don't even think they can commit to it themselves. They don't think they have the ability.
Yeah.
That's deep. Mm-hmm. When you don't think you have the ability yourself to control yourself, to control your spending, when you say to yourself, I do not have the ability to keep this dollar in my pocket, that's deep. And so that's where I was. I didn't know if I could change. I felt like everything that I had done, it was so ingrained in me that there really was no way for me to change. And that I'd probably always just be broke, struggling, chasing money, trying to figure it out. And all the while, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. You know, I ain't killed nobody. I don't rob people. I don't do, you know, we all talk about I'm a good person, but there's a great person inside of you. Mm. There's a great person in you. And that great person, let me tell you, how do you define? When you practice what you preach, that's number one. And when you only do what you can teach. So there are times when in this financial overhaul, and we're talking about generational wealth, but before we get that, you've got to believe that you can spark a generation. You got to believe it. There were times when I was not sure if I could follow my own commitment to myself. It's like discipline. It's like the thing that you know you need to do to get better, whether that's eating less food, whether that's exercising, whether that's spending less money. You know you're supposed to do it, but then you say to yourself, can I do it? I get the question all the time. People say, Lynn, thank you so much. I saw you on His and Her Money, and I want to get my money straight, but I don't think I can do it. Ask yourself this question the next time you don't think you can do something. And the next time you're about to make a move that you know ain't right, ask yourself, would I teach it? Can I teach it? So I'm going to do something out of order with my money. All right? I know it's out of order, but nobody else knows. The next question that you ask yourself is, can I teach it? Would I teach this action to my children? So let's talk about, would I teach this action to my children? But for every mama out there, let me tell you, I was asking my two youngest daughters are home from college because of the pandemic and so on. And I said, do you remember the purple fur coats that you had when you were 2? And your Barbie cars? They had pink Barbie cars and purple fur coats with matching purple fur hats that they don't even remember. And I spent my last dime and the next month's rent and probably 3 months worth of bills getting them all the stuff for Christmas. I wouldn't teach that. I wouldn't teach that. I wouldn't teach them how to do that. I wouldn't say to them, go spend every penny you have nothing left, go spend all your bill money, rent money, and then run around crazy for a whole year trying to figure. I wouldn't teach that. So if you can't teach it, you can't do it.
So good.
That became my litmus test. It was like, Lynn, can you teach this? Nope, I can't teach it. Now, it was a fight because I want to go do something to serve myself. Because let me help everybody understand something. Who running around talking about you helping people? No, you're not. You helping yourself. You helping yourself feel better for something else that you didn't do right. So if I can go buy my kids a whole bunch of toys, I'm helping myself feel better. I'm looking good to, how much did you spend? Oh, I know your kids had a good Christmas. Girl, yeah, they got everything. That's feeding my ego. And my bank account is sitting there sobbing. My future is sitting there like, okay, you just left us out. You worried about the kids having a good Christmas. So when we start to ask ourselves that question, I dare anybody, the next money move you make, if you ask yourself, can I teach it? Because it's impossible to ask the question and not listen to the answer. Now you can ignore the question. You can just keep going around spending money you don't have, jumping around this, that, and the other. I know I've had to teeter and totter because I always tell people This journey with money, first of all, there are 365 days in a year. In 10 years, there's 3,650 days. In 20 years, there's 7,000 days. In 40 years, there's 14,000 days. If you're 40 years old and you're broke, that means there's 14,000 days of undoing that has to be done. Everything that you have done for the past 14,000 days has created how your money DNA. It's created your money DNA. It's created how you understand money, how you deal with money, how you engage with money. And so guess what? It's going to take a lot of undoing to undo the doing you have done. So you got to be patient with yourself. You got to be patient. So you get this revelation, you watch His and Her Money, you decide you don't want to be broke anymore, but now you've got to unravel all the things that were created. And it starts with that. So looking at the inner me, why did I go and get all of those credit cards in college? Because of the DNA that I came to college with. And the DNA that I came to college with was that I always wore designer clothes. Now, my grandmother was a housekeeper, but she believed if you bought a purse, go buy an expensive purse. Now, she wouldn't buy something like on the Chanel level, but if she had if she had to decide between a $10 tote bag and an $80 tote bag, she was going to go to JCPenney and get that $80 tote bag because she said this one is going to last me longer. Well, then my mother took it another notch. She's going to buy Gloria Vanderbilt, Jordache. Y'all know I'm talking about Vidal Sassoon, Sergio Valente. I was going to have oh yeah, honey. Okay. So even though I went to college, broke as a joke, broke as all get out on 100% financial aid, I didn't even have enough money to buy books. I had to send an email, I'll never forget, to the financial aid office asking for an emergency loan so I could buy books. I didn't have $300 for books. My grandmother used her credit cards and whatever she could to get me to school, but my DNA followed me there. And my DNA said, if you don't have much, you can at least look good. So when I got those credit cards, I went and bought clothes. That's what I bought. I bought clothes. And I had to have a new outfit Wednesday through Sunday because that's how you party in college. Everybody who say you don't, you lying. That's you party in college from Wednesday to Sunday. You might take one of those days off. You got to have an exam. And I can't wear what I wore last quarter. You can't wear the same thing you wore last. Forget next week. You can't wear the same thing that semester. Not to a party. Mm-hmm. So that was my DNA. So then that DNA carried on, and I gave that to my children, and so on and so forth. And then I decided to stop. I decided this stops with me. Can I teach what I am doing? And if you ask yourself that question, can you teach that choice you're about to make? What do you mean, can you teach it? Okay, you're about to go spend some money that you don't have. Can you stand up in front of the classroom, which is the world, and say, this is what you should do, everybody? If the answer is no, then you can't do it for yourself either. You have to be the first recipient of your wisdom. You have to be the first recipient of your goodness. We want to give to other people. You have to give yourself the truth. And so that's where I was. And
so good.
It took me literally just dealing with the truth. And once I decided that, okay, this is my problem and I am the cause of it. I'm the reason why I'm broke. I'm the reason why I keep making bad decisions. I'm the reason. Now, I may be in circumstances where others have contributed to that, but I'm responsible for that too. If you're in a bad relationship with somebody and that somebody is abusing you mentally, emotionally, physically, that's your problem because you're still there. You're still there. Doesn't matter what you did. Doesn't matter how you saved them. Doesn't matter all the things that you did. You're still there. So as long as you give something else power, then it has control over your future. If you say to yourself, I am the change, I am responsible, then the power rests in you to make the change that you need to get to the next level.
Did you guys share this? Come in. Hit that share button.
So we got to wait for this echo to go away, I guess, between every question.
Yes.
And I think
there it is. Okay. Awesome.
Yo,
this is so good. Oh my gosh.
So many directions I want to go, but I think that what you're sharing is hitting home for a lot of people because even though you're telling your story, you're telling our story. And there's the historicity of how we all ended up in the same place. We don't have time for on this particular episode, but there's a lot of reasons we all share a similar story. Now, there are people who are at that point where you said that you realized you weren't going to you had already started to give this wrong narrative to your kids, but you reached a point where you realized you were giving the wrong narrative to your kids. And you wanted to be the one who destroyed the narrative that was passed to you from your mother and from your grandmother. And you wanted to change the narrative to what you are now going to begin to give your kids. And you wanted to establish a different legacy than what was handed to you. If somebody's at that turning point right here, because they're all in the comments going crazy, like, man, oh she's God. Right. Like, why didn't I think of that? Like, I can't teach what I'm doing. Like, they're at that moment right now. And they're like, she is right. I don't want to keep giving this bad teaching to my kids. I want to start to build a different legacy, just like Dr. Lynn did. You told us we first have to think that we have the ability to. All right. So now you have opened up our brains to think that we have the ability to. Where do we go from here?
Well, where you go from, once you make the decision to listen to yourself, because here's the deal. When we go and spend money that we don't have, you're not listening to yourself. You're listening to something else that's telling you that you should go line up with whomever expectation. That's not you. That's not what you want for yourself. So if you truly start to listen to yourself, I often say to people, stop thinking about what you want. Focus on what you need. And then over time, wisdom will show you that what you need is what you want. Don't think about what you want. I want this, I want a new car, I want this. What do you need? Once you can zone in on what you need, over time, what you need is what you want. And so there's a reversal of how you begin to make decisions. But the number one thing that has to happen once you make that choice is you have to be okay with losing relationships. That's number one. Because not only have you treated yourself incorrectly, knowingly and unknowingly, because sometimes we make those decisions, and when we make the decision, we know it's not right. When I was in Toys R Us buying $3,000 worth of toys, that was for one child. By the time I had three, I don't know how much money I was spending on Christmas. As I was standing in line trying to figure out where I was going to get the money from, like how I was going to rob Peter to pay Paul, how I was going to rob Joey to feed Toya, like I knew it was wrong right there. At the moment that you decide to undo a wrong thing, next you have to go deal with the people you were going to do it for. And that's the reason why we don't follow through, because we don't like confrontation. We don't want to explain. Sometimes we're angry with ourselves, so we don't want to be questioned. When you don't have enough money, how does that show up? Do you get angry and blow up at people? That happens. You come home, the kids need something, you don't have any money. Rather than admitting that either A, you didn't go to school to get the degree that you wanted, to get the job that you wanted, or get the training that you wanted, or your boss pissed you off, or whatever it was, you blow up at the kids. When you don't have enough money, do you abuse some substance? When you don't have enough money, do you become delusional? Really kind of like psychotic. Let me tell you what delusion is. Delusion is when you don't care about anything. You just create a new world and you're just going to go to the mall and spend money anyway. That's delusional. That's not, I am making a conscious choice. No, that's a very delusional state of existence, because you've decided that something is true that is not, and that's insanity. So the very first thing that you have to do is deal with the people who you are no longer using your money on. Let me tell you who that was for me. First people, and this one is kind of funny, it was my kids. It wasn't all of them. It was my youngest kid was the most difficult. She was like 6, and she was used to us just flying and going everywhere. They were all-star cheerleaders. They'd been on ESPN, and anytime we were doing something, they could get their hair done and just whatever. Money was nobody ever talked about money. So here we are cutting back. Things have changed, and I think she and her sisters asked if they could get their hair done. We were eating dinner in the kitchen. I'll never forget. And her father said, well, let your mom and I'll talk about it. We have to look and see how much money, blah, blah, blah. She said, are y'all broke? That's what she said. And she looked so disgusted. As if the answer was yes. She looked like she was going to pack up and live with another family. Now, let me tell you the response to that. My husband got angry. He was like he was offended. So look at what money does. He got offended. I was in a state of shock because I couldn't believe the little girl was asking us were we broke. And then I wanted to know if we were. I'm just trying to figure this out. But that's the outspoken child. There were people in my family who I could no longer pay their rent or pay whatever. They cut me off, talked about me. So once you decide to change your money, what you have to understand is you have used money to create the relationships that you have, to weave them together, to blend them. If you're the one in your family that you're always saving everybody, even though you can't save yourself, if you're the one in your group who's always buying the meals when you go out, if you have created a DNA for money that other people around you are attached to. So the next thing that people do, for example, with the Freedom Package, day 1, why am I here? Day 2, go talk to all the people that you need to talk to about your changes. Day 3, when they come back, half the people are angry with them. The rest of them don't believe them. When people go and say, I cannot help you any longer. I do not have any money any longer. I do not have enough money. I can't afford to give you money. I can't afford to buy these things. They don't even believe you. That's how good of a liar you were. That's how good of a liar I was. That when I actually do come out and say, I can't afford this, people don't believe me. And then because they don't believe me, they think I'm lying. They think that you're just not. Now they're mad at you and now they cut you off. Well, guess what? Those people were only using you. And I'm not saying that you need to now get angry with them. You just need to deal with what you created. You created that. And then let it go. Forgive them, love them from a distance. And then now you got to keep facing yourself every single day. You got to keep facing yourself every time you go online. What I don't understand right now is who has a spending addiction right now in a pandemic? You online buying what? Getting it delivered to your house? And it's not a necessity? But that's the you that you meet up with every single day. That's the you that you meet up every single time you go out and make a decision. On Tax Talk Thursday last night, for those who are in the Entrepreneurs Academy, they're getting it. They said, Lynn, okay, so what you're saying is every single time I spend $1, I need to ask myself if I can get it back. I said every dollar, every single time. Every time I spend a penny, I ask myself, can I get it back, right? Because when you have a home-based business and you spend money on meals and travel and things like that, or your cell phone, you have a home-based business, you get your money back. So now that I know I can get my money back, every single time I spend $1, I say, can I get it back? And if the answer is no, I'm probably not going to spend it. And somebody said, well, what about, giving at church? I said, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to hold it on in there for the Lord. Absolutely. You can't get everything back. But for the most part, that car my daughter needed, I have to ask myself, can I get the money back? Absolutely. Every single penny that we spent on that vehicle, we're going to get it back in a tax write-off. So it's really being responsible for yourself. And it's much easier for us. And a lot of times as women, it's much easier for us to ignore ourselves and take care of everybody else. But what I'm saying to you, my sister, my brother, my family members, you got to take care of you. Because until you take care of you, you can't. Look at the people who you love. Don't you love them? Don't you want to give them freedom? Don't you want to give them a chance? I looked at my children and realized with me as a mother, they were going down. And that, more than anything, impacted me. That was bigger than Christmas. That was bigger than trying to put them in a private school that I couldn't afford. That was bigger than trying to buy them stuff that I couldn't afford. Me understanding that my behavior, because children, people don't do what you say, they do what you do. Mm-hmm. So that's where it started for me.
Oh, I got so many different things going on in my mind right now.
And we must wait for the reverb to stop.
I think it stopped.
Boom. Awesome. Fixed it.
Come in, share this, guys. This is so good.
Listen, share this right now. Stop being stingy.
Everything that Dr. Lynn is talking about when she talks about the 21-day freedom package, the Entrepreneurs Academy, things like that, you can find all of her resources. I see some of you all are saying, can she mentor me? Yes, she can. Go to hisandhermoney.com/wealth school. That's hisandhermoney.com/wealth school to get all of her stuff. Dr. Lynn, I don't think that we can end this conversation without talking about a home-based business. I heard you talk about that a little bit, but I want you to talk about first, how did you use a home-based business to actually change your generational tree? You built generational wealth through a home-based business. So this also impacted your children. Your children were watching you spend money, not wisely. But then when you decided to take care of your money the right way, talk about the different steps that you put into place and how your children watched you do that, and now they do the same.
So I have to give some credit to several of my mentors. My soror, Lori Jones Gibbs, who she co-authored my 3rd or 4th book with me, Yes, You Approved, The Real Deal About Getting a Mortgage and Buying a Home. And I remember her saying, school is free. She didn't believe in paying for education. Her kids got A's and they went to school for free. So that's what I told my children. If you get A's, you go to school for free. If you get C's, you go into the free school. Now, the oldest 2, they were clear. They got straight A's. The youngest one, the same one who asked, are y'all broke? She said, well, what's the free school? The community college, right down the block. That's where you're going. And she got too much swag for that. So she got those grades together so she can go to Howard University. But yeah, if school is free, if you get A's, you go to the free school. If you get C's, you go into if you get A's, you go to school for free. If you get C's, you go into the free school. Now, what is that doing? That is now making them responsible. That's bringing them into the equation so then they can contribute something to the game. So it really kind of started with that and me seeing how other wealthy people treated their money. Just because they had it didn't mean they were going to spend it, because they understood that if I can be strategic, then I can actually make my money work hard enough to go buy anything that I want, my children want, their children want, but I got to give money the opportunity to work. Money can't work if it keeps flying out of your account. It can't. It can go work for somebody else. Now that right there, I can just stop right there. Your money is going to work. You get to decide who it's going to work for. Your money is going to work. Who is it going to work for? Is it going to work for you? Or is it going to go work for the designer purse company, the designer shoe company, the restaurant that you keep going to every single day, eating too much and everything is getting fat except your bank account? Y'all know I'm telling the truth. I need to lose some pounds. This pandemic weight is a trip, okay? Who is your money going to work for? You or somebody else? If the money is going to work for you, you got to keep it close to you. You got to stay here. You got to stay here. Then you have to tell it what to do. And if you tell money what to do, then it will not only do what you say, but it will go and create more. So the IRS says, when you have a home-based business, we are going to make it so easy for you to have a business. We're gonna sweeten the deal for you so much that if you have a home-based business, the stuff that you are spending money on anyway, like your car, gas in your car, meals, your cell phone, when you travel, All of these things, the IRS says that over 475 times, that when you spend money on these things, we're going to give it back to you if you start a business. And then, so that's the cake. Then they put the icing on the cake. They said, now, if you hire your children, see, okay, generational wealth. Let's think of some generational wealth names that we know. Can anybody say Hilton? Can anybody say Oprah's building generational wealth through children she don't even have? She's building generational wealth through planting into people. That's what generational wealth is all about. Kardashians, there are so many names. Russell Simmons, the Rockefellers, the Kennedys. Generational wealth starts with family being in business together. So the IRS says, if you hire your kids, now let me just talk about kids for a minute, because I've talked about mine. I've got my oldest who's graduated from college. I've got my middle who's almost out, and I've got my youngest she's 2 steps in. She's about to be a sophomore. Now my grandmother, I have 3 children. My grandmother had 17 brothers and sisters, and she was the oldest. So she took care of everybody. She basically was, she was a midwife for her mom, for many of her siblings. And so in her older years, they all looked at her as their mother. So she had to feed them all every day. I'm going to tell you right now, if I had 17 kids, everybody wouldn't eat every day. I have a Monday, Wednesday group and a Tuesday, Thursday group. And on your day off, you'd have to fast, pray, or steal. I don't know what to tell you. But you gonna feed 17 people every day? Come on now. So you got children. You got to figure out how you're going to feed them, how you're going to take care of them. Here's what the IRS says about your children. The IRS says, not only do I want you to be in business, and 475 times, if you spend your money here, I'm going to give it back to you. If you go on a vacation, good luck. But if you take a business trip and you vacation on your free time, then I'm going to give you all your money back. If you just go out to eat with your friends, good luck. But if you go out to eat to discuss business at a business meal, I'm going to give you your money back. If you just drive in your car, good luck. But if you drive in your car with the intent, because have a home-based business and you're running that business like a business with the intent to make a profit, I'm going to give you your gas money back, your carburetor money back, your engine money back, your registration money back, or I'm going to give you the mileage. The IRS keeps saying that, and then they say, let's throw in the children too. Now, I want you to think about all the wealthy groups of people on the planet. How often do you see them with their children working in the business? 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. The IRS says, if you hire your kids to work in your home-based business, you can pay each child, up to $12,400 a year. Now, that's what the cake is. If you have a business, you have a home-based business, you get your money back. The icing on the cake is the IRS says you can hire each one and pay them up to $12,400 a year. Now that's a tax write-off to you. So you say, Lynn, where am I going to get $12,400? It doesn't have to be the whole amount. It could be up to that amount, and it could be more than that amount. I'll tell you about that in a moment and why it makes sense when we're talking about generational wealth. Let's say you're spending $100 a week on daycare. That's $5,200 a year. If you just pay the daycare, you don't get the money back. But if you hire your child and you pay them and they pay for their own daycare, you do. So up to $12,400, you get that money back. That's a tax write-off to you. Now here's the icing on the cake. The IRS says your child doesn't even pay any taxes on the money. Why would the government tell you to start a business, get your money back, hire your kids, you get that money back, and they don't pay any taxes? Because generational wealth is really the core and the infrastructure of the entire economy. And so basically, we live in a society that's saying to you, create generational wealth. And all you have to do is look at yourself, tell yourself the truth, say, self, can you teach this? And if you can't teach it, don't do it. Be willing to disconnect from those relationships that were codependent on you for money for the wrong reasons. Okay? And then follow the system. I tell people, learn the rules of the game and then play the game by the rules. The wealthy have been mastering this forever. The wealthy have been starting businesses, hiring their children, putting the money in the right column, calling it a salary, getting it back, taking business trips, inviting their business partners to their daughter's wedding receptions, writing that whole thing off. They've been doing it forever. Forever and ever and ever and ever. So now, when you get your money back, then what do? Your goal is to accumulate cash because of this simple word, interest. You see, when you have debt, that means you're paying somebody else and for what you borrow, and you're giving them interest. They're taking the interest and making so much money off of you, and you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. Well, if you eliminate the debt, now there is no middleman between you and your wealth. So now you can take the interest and earn it and create generational wealth. So how do you do that? At some point, you're going to amass a certain amount of money. And that money will continue to create more money. And you never have to touch the beginning money. So let's take something like $1 million. Okay? You have $1 million and you can get there. Anybody can get there. It's not hard. If you can get $1, you can get 10. If you can get 10, you can get 1,000. If you can get 1,000, you can do that 100 times to get 100,000. If you can get $100,000, you can do that 10 times to get $1 million. I'm telling you, you can. It's just a numbers game. And the more disciplined you become, momentum is on your side. It's called a book called The Tipping Point. Once you start to go and then it just keeps going, momentum gets on your side. And it's as if the universe, God himself, is helping to catapult you to the next level. All you have to do is start. So let's take $1 million. You've got $1 million saved someplace. And now let's say it's earned 12% interest. That's $12,000. Now the $1 million that's sitting there stays there, and now you have $1,012,000. So now you're going to earn interest on that. Let's take the number up. Let's take it to 10 million. 10 million sitting somewhere. The interest that gets earned on that, if it's 12% interest, it's at 12 million. You're talking about $120,000. Now you can take the interest, live off the interest, and let the money keep growing. But you've got to believe you can get there. And the only thing you have to do is start with the first dollar. If you can't respect $1, it cannot produce 10. If you can't respect 10, it's not going to produce 100. If you can't respect 100, it's not going to produce 1,000, 100,000. But if you can respect $1 and treat it right, then it can continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. So when you have generational wealth, that means there's money in a trust. It gets passed down from one child to the next generation. You tell the money what to do. Nobody just gets big checks so they can go out, smoke up the money, get on drugs. You know how they do. They smoke up the money. Now the house is gone. You create a business plan for your money. You sit down with an estate planning attorney and you say, if something happens to me, and or when something happens to me, or it doesn't have to be death. I could be incapacitated. I could be sick or whatever. This is what happens. This amount goes to this person. This amount goes to them when they graduate. This amount goes to their first child. This amount goes to the second child, the second generation. You say what happens to the money. And if the money is in the proper instrument, that's why everybody has to have their own pension. We are now living in a service society. Companies are not offering pensions. Everybody's an entrepreneur, so you have to create your own. And you do that by starting an annuity. An annuity is an income for life. A 401k is an advanced savings account. So when you have that annuity, here's what happens. It pays you an income for the rest of your life, and then when you die, it rolls over to your heirs. And then they get it for the rest of their life, and then when they pass on, it rolls over to their heirs. The money never disappears. So that's how we start to have generational wealth, and it starts with the first dollar. And I believe that everybody has it in them. And if you're ready to do the work, I'm here to help mentor you and get you to where you're trying to go.
Wow. Somebody said.
Let me fix it. I gotta talk. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Oh, we gotta wait. Mic check. At some point, the microphone will
happened before. What's going on? Okay, there we go.
Nope. So you guys enjoying this while we wait on the microphone to fix itself? Let us know in the comments how much you have learned just in this short time with Dr. Lynn.
I was actually going to read one of the comments that I thought was interesting and accurate. Somebody said that we play Monopoly as a game. They play as a business.
Let's wait till the microphone is, because that'll be good for everybody to hear later. There we go. All right, we're good.
So I saw
3, 2, 1.
I read a comment, and this was so accurate and so true. This person said that we play Monopoly as a game. They play it as a business.
Oh my goodness. Monopoly is the first game I taught my children. My oldest daughter, and she's like a genius, went to Harvard when she was 15. I whooped her butt so bad in Monopoly when she was 5. Yeah, oh no mercy. No mercy around here. I don't, this is an adult game. Monopoly is life in the Richardson household. It's the first game I taught my children, Monopoly. And it's life.
Yeah.
It's strategy. So yeah. But what did the person say in the comment?
That's what they said. They said that the wealthy people are playing it in real life.
Family, the generational
they're not
wealth
just
that
doing
they're
it on the
building.
board game.
Yeah.
They're actually living it out.
I want you to talk a little bit about your resources, Dr. Lynn, because people are asking in the comment section which
specific questions.
Yeah. And I know that we get emails where people ask, well, which one should I get? Because I know that you offer a lot of tools and resources, and you can personally mentor people as well. Again, you guys, all of her resources can be found at hisandhermoney.com/wealth school. So where would you tell people to start out?
Which are the products?
Yeah.
So the Entrepreneurs Academy really is it's the top of the game. It allows you to come into a program that has a curriculum, all right? But you get to start where you are. So if you're just trying to get your budget in order, if you're on food stamps, if you have a job but you're trying to, make ends meet, if you are okay with your money but you're trying to figure out how to get it to the next level, the Entrepreneurs Academy is an all-inclusive program, and you get to go at your own pace. You get access to all of the webinars: how to start a home-based business, how to write a book, road to home ownership. My building business credit masterclass, the masterclass on investing. There's all these different things, but you still get a personalized, individualized program for yourself, and you coach with me every day. So you get assignments every day. I grade them. You have a responsibility. I say, okay, you did good, and I pass you, or I say you didn't do good and I don't pass you. And it's so funny because people sometimes their feelings get hurt, they don't pass. And I'm like, I'm just here to help you. I'm going to push you harder. And they're like, you're right, Dr. Lynn. You're right, Dr. Lynn. Because nobody's challenged them. Nobody said, hey, no, that's not going to work. If you give me your budget and you're upside down, then I'm not letting you go to step 3 until we fix it. We got to fix the budget. We got to help you live. So the Entrepreneurs Academy really is it's the master, I would say, thing that you could do. It's the way to really treat yourself and give yourself an opportunity to get in the game and win for real. Fortunately for the Entrepreneurs Academy, it has so much information, but also I say to people, don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Take one thing at a time. Take one class at a time. Take one step at a time. And it's a $49 monthly payment. Until you cancel, you can cancel whenever you want. There's no contract. There's nothing. You get 6 books. You get Living Check to Monday. You get Living Beyond Check to Monday. You get The Symphony, a guide to creating and balancing multiple streams of income. You get Living a Business and Budgeting Journal. So you get all these tools, all these resources. It's great. It's wonderful. Plus, you get access to me. You get my personal number. They text me. They be texting me, Dr. Lynn. And they be texting me stuff that, I can't answer this. This have to be in a consultation. Okay, Dr. Lynn. So it's an all-inclusive program. If you can't start with the Entrepreneurs Academy, because that's $249,
which is reasonably priced.
Everything I just said.
Yeah, it's pretty affordable.
I wanted to say that before you go on, you guys, that we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And to find someone that is full of this information, full of knowledge, and her resources are extremely reasonably priced. I mean, you have things in your store for like $20,
$20,
$30, $45. And so that's what I love about your resources. So again, go to hisandhermoney.com/wealth school for her information.
Yep. So you can get the Entrepreneurs Academy. And if you can't do that right now, start with the Freedom Package. The Freedom Package is going to rock your world, change your whole entire life. because it's the 21 days to financial freedom, and it's how to start a home-based business. And how to start a home-based business, let me be clear. If you don't know how to operate and live with the 475 tax deductions applied to your life, if you already have a business and don't know what you're doing, if nobody ever told you you could hire your kids to work in your home-based business, everybody needs a home-based business. Everybody needs a home-based business, and everybody needs to take how to start a home-based business, because I deal with the economy from a very I go all the way to the bottom and then build you back up in words and terminology that you can understand. And so that's the Freedom Package. And then there's a whole bunch of other, great products and books, but I definitely recommend the Freedom Package and or the Entrepreneurs Academy for those who are really ready to dive in. Ultimately, the Entrepreneurs Academy, we just took a look at it. It's about a 4.5-year curriculum. Wow. That's what it is. It's a 4.5-year curriculum. So for those who get started and you're sailing, once you get through with one thing, then we're going to deal with investing. Once you get through with that, then we're going to deal with real estate. Once you get through with that, we might have to deal with franchising. Once you get through with that, so there's so many facets to it. And because I have practiced in every financial area, I have been an assistant director of financial aid, a mortgage professional, a real estate professional, an insurance professional, an investment advisor, as well as a tax coach. So I've pretty much understood, dealt with it from every single angle, and I've been successful in every last one of those industries and helped lots of people become successful. So there's a wealth of knowledge, not just from myself, but also from my colleagues who assist in Wealth University.
So if Dr. Lynn has
She's
sparked you.
teaching what she would do now, right?
That's right. That's right. You don't do it unless you can teach it.
I love it.
And for those who are trying to learn how to get some good stuff to teach, again, go to hisandhermoney.com/wealth school and check out either the Entrepreneurs Academy or the Freedom Package. There's lots of stuff there, but focus on those two for right now based on Dr. Lynn's advice. Man, 3 for 3, Dr. Lynn.
Yes.
3 for 3.
Let me say this. Let me tell you what makes me smile more than anything. After my students face themselves, and then they go face their family members, and some of their family members are on their side, some of them aren't. And then I say to them, so how do you feel? They say, I don't care. Woo! I say, now you on your way. You on your way. When you don't care what people think, oh, come on.
Right.
You are on that. If you're looking for something, once I get here, how am I going to know? You're going to be successful when you don't care what people think.
So true.
That's it.
That's it.
And we got to deal with that later, because you talked about some historical things. Historically, we've come from a history of not having. When we get the opportunity to have, we got to show the world we got it.
Right.
Rich people stay rich because they act poor. Poor people stay poor because they act rich. Poor people stay poor acting rich in front of other poor people.
Yep. All of the above.
Yes.
Like if you just take that, you will break yourself from every chain that has had you in bondage. So once you get to the place that you don't care,
True.
but you care about the truth, you care about love, you care about, now I'm so clear, and when you get to a place where you start to put your money right, you're going to have people come test you. I have family members, we'll be at a family gathering, they'll just ask me, blurt out, can I borrow? And I don't even respond. I don't have to respond to you. Don't. See, it's when you can give there. Yeah. Just because you did that doesn't mean I got to respond. I'm going to let you keep that out there with yourself. Because if you want to borrow money from me, you need to sit and have a conversation. And if you want to borrow money from me, I'm going to treat you like the bank. I need to see your pay stub, your W-2, and your budget. And then you don't want to give that up, then you don't want my money. So denied.
I actually like that.
Denied.
And that's what you teach. And so you look at their budget, because you might not need money. You might need help.
Right.
You might need advice. You might need a strategy. But then, you don't want me to see your bank statement because, you at the boat. Okay, well, I'm not about to help you. No, you can't. You can't borrow the money from me to go back to the boat. We're not doing that. And I'm not saying that you're less than because of the boat. What I'm saying is we want to get you out of what you're in.
Priorities.
And you can't do that if you keep going back. So.
Can't say thank you enough,
So
Dr.
good.
Lynn.
You guys, after you all have watched this or participated live, we have 2 other videos with Dr. Lynn on our YouTube channel. You want to make sure you check them all out. Like, just sit down, pop you some popcorn and enjoy, but also apply what you guys have learned today. This has been great, Dr. Lynn. Thank you as always. You are phenomenal. Yeah, this is great. We're going to definitely bring you back on as well, too.
Yeah, we got some more to talk about. But for now, y'all need to go either enrolled in the Entrepreneur Academy or the Freedom Package, because at the end of the day, she has made it clear that we have to face ourselves.
Right.
And when we face ourselves, we have to make the decision. Are we going to stay where we're at, or are we going to try to elevate and advance our families, or are we going to take them down?
We need to come out of this pandemic different and changed everybody.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure I said that. Yes.
Go ahead, take a text.
Dr. Lynn felt that too.
Let me tell you all, I saw a post. It said, coming out of this pandemic, you will either be a millionaire, a billionaire, or a witness.
Wow.
Whoa.
I like that. I'm going with B. I'm going with B.
Don't get it twisted.
It may be more witnesses than
it's going to be
the
more
other
witnesses.
two, unfortunately.
The Bible says the poor you will have with you always.
There you go. This is the season to grow. It doesn't look like it, but that's what always happens. There has never been a time in the history since I've been an adult and engaged in the financial world, the recession of 2008, the recession behind 9/11, behind Katrina, 1997, when things start to move, there's never been a time like now where people, everyday folks like you and I, we're the same. We are the same.
That's so true.
Have access to information, and we can actually not only get access to the information, then we can execute. Let me say this, and this is probably the last thing I need to say today about this topic. Knowledge is not power until you put it into action. You got knowledge today, but it's not power until you put it into action. When you put knowledge into power, then you have into action. When you put knowledge into action and you have power, then you have wisdom. Wisdom will make you wealthy. Wisdom is why I was living. Lack of wisdom is why I was living check to Monday. Lack of wisdom is why I didn't have any money, no matter how much money I had. Lack of wisdom is why we don't know what happened to our funds. Lack of wisdom. Knowledge is not power until it's put into action, and then you gain wisdom.
There it is. Yeah. I can't clean it up no better than that.
So good.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now you all are all witnesses, because you just witnessed a whole lot of knowledge being spilled out by Dr. Lynn. But now the question is, are you going to take that knowledge, add some action to it, therefore turn it into power and ultimately wisdom? We hope that you will do that. We hope these words were not wasted on your eardrums, and that you are ready to move the needle in a positive direction. So Dr. Lynn, thank you for coming and blessing us once again. All right, guys, until next time.
All right, you guys.
Peace.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.